Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So we're now on the last day of the event, War for the Skies, and there's a couple of things I wanted to do in today's episode. First, what I want to do is talk about the event deck, the full deck actually, and do a review of it, because this is one of the few decks recently that actually has very little dependency on intensity and also very little dependency on the relic. And so what I want to do is to compare that deck with the Light Halloween deck or the Olympians deck, which I have, so that we can do a comparison of the two different playstyles and sort of the strengths and weaknesses and how they compare against each other. The second thing I wanted to do actually is something a little fun. I had reached out in the forums a few days ago and asked for some ideas just from the forum members for the network legendary game forum, and asked them to come up with ideas for the decks that they're using for this particular event. The only thing they requested was to not have any ultra rares be in the deck and talk about how they play and what kind of damage you can deal either in 1 key or 3 keys. So I got some good responses and some really creative ones, and so based on the availability of the cards I had, I wanted to showcase some of them. Now unfortunately I couldn't showcase everybody's decks because I just don't have the cards to showcase it, and so apologize if if I couldn't feature it, but maybe what I'll do is I'll have more of these in the future, and we can always have more of these, so more opportunities to do that. But for now, this is just something for fun, and we will start with that. So the first one is actually a variance of the forum member Beleth S. She actually has a deck that was built around using a Skuka Wende and then the Ondaria plus Saffron combo. Unfortunately, I don't have Ondaria, but her idea of using Sephiron as a turn delayer gave me an idea of maybe we can try using Stage, which is a turn delayer card that doesn't have any turn cooldown dependency. So this is something we can try just to see what kind of damage you get. And another one is Moxie 82. So this is a deck that uses 4 Orsangs and 1 Arabata. Basically, you can use Arabata to really revive with the with a heart gem that she'll create at below 50% health. And so that can really kind of boost your health back up to normal. Although with 4 Orsangs, I think really that's where your damage is going to be dealt. And then finally, we have Viceroy Tyler of Karn, another forum member, who just went ahead and did 5 Orsangs. Now, we all know that you can get multiple copies of Orsang, especially if you purchase into the deck. So we can see how well this plays out. And to do that, we're going to minimize on the key usage, because I am at level 300 for all of my bosses right now, and I do need to use my solo keys to to see if I can continue to stay competitive in the space here. I'm currently in the Kings League, and it's pretty competitive out here. So we're just gonna focus on the boss, the guild boss, because I do have some keys to spare here. So let's go ahead and start with Beleth S variants, and we can see how we do. I did try it out already one time, and it came out to about 779 million with this particular deck, and so let's see if we can improve on this. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the key here is you want to try to use the turn delay early on, so that you can build up some intensity, but then later I think it's less important for you to continue to build up on the turn delay, because you actually want to get the boost from Wende's death damage, right? And so what you want to do is you don't want to necessarily just turn delay so much that you don't actually get to use Wende. And so at some point, what you can do is you can slow down. So right now what I'm going to do, you're going to see I'm going to start activating Stage, and then I'm going to basically just go ahead and match all the gems here, and you can see that I'm going to be lighting up the skills. I think I may be 1 gem short here. That's okay, because I actually can survive still. Yeah, so I'm just short 1 gem. So let's go ahead and use the turn delay for a couple of turns. And then we can go ahead and also just match the gems. So you can see I still have about 3-4 turns. And then we can just kind of start doing power gem matches. And also don't forget to use Wende's battle skill whenever you can, because there is also no cooldown here. So let's go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna delay 1 more turn. and then we will probably let that run out, and then let when they get attacked or revived to get additional boost to the damage. And unfortunately, right now the power gems aren't really lining up the way I would like it to, but that's okay. And so let's go ahead and do this. And I think at this point, the problem I'm going to run into is the time. So as the board gets filled up, I'm not really going to be able to stop the clock. So I'm going to have to really manage the time a little better here. And so after this next turn, I am going to expect an attack here. And again, same thing, just match the power gems. And let's see how we do here. So I think I'm going to probably survive 2 hits. And there's going to be one last round of power gems here. So let's go ahead and do that. And then after Askuka, after when they revives, we will have an... okay, so now that revived, make sure that I'm going to just go ahead and use the skill now, because I do have the increased damage, but I couldn't match any power gems there, so unfortunately couldn't deal as much damage as I could. So now we started with 779. Let's see how much damage we did here. So a lot better. So we are now at 1962. So we dealt approximately 1.2 billion with that attack. Now that's with 3 keys, but still that was pretty good. Now let's go ahead and change the team now. Let's go ahead and use Moxie 82. So with Moxie's team, it's actually very similar to Viceroy Tyler Karn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on how this would work if once you're below 50%. So in order to do that, first let's make sure that we match enough gems to power up our skills, which is not going to be a problem because we have 2 relics going here. And so let's go ahead and see. Well, with 3 keys here, I think that the health is actually really high with actually the 4 Orsangs right now, and I just know from experience that if I were to match all of them right now, I think I would actually defeat the boss. But keep in mind, what you want to do is you actually want to match light gems. So let's go ahead and do another match now. Remember, Orsang, every 3 matches will give you both power gems as well as an increased amount of total power gem that it creates. So now we're going to create I hope it doesn't get, no, it's not going to get overwritten, but I think what you want to do is you want to actually try to do this last in case it gets overwritten. But right now what I'm doing is I'm just, doing a swap of the power gem with the heart gem. And you can see that I'm now at full health, and I also was able to deal the remaining 2 billion or so damage. So having all Orsangs actually is really, really strong. And so I'm going to show you now what it's going to be like. So like I said, this is very similar to a deck that has all of them. The difference here is I'm able to run 2 relics, right? So I have just a single relic here of what they call Da Bomb, and then the Blessed Blade from the Demigod here. Now let's go ahead and run a team with all 5 Viceroys, and all 5 teams of Viceroy, Tyler Karn of all Orsangs, and see how this goes. Right, so this is from him, and luckily I actually didn't awaken all of them. So you can take a look at my team though. So I have one of them that's awakened 6 times, and so he's doing pretty good damage. And I think I'm gonna stop here. I just wanted to do it to 6 just because I can, but at this point, going beyond 6, you're looking at 3,000, 5,000 or so mana, and I just don't want to waste too much of it. And then I have one that's awakened up to 3 times, and then I have 3 of them at just non-awakened, and 2 of them I actually don't plan on leveling up because I actually want to use them for awakened, but it was good that I had them so I could actually use this team. So let's go ahead and do a 3-key attack. Now, same thing as the previous deck, but this time we're only going to have 1 relic. And so what you want to do is, just focus on small matches instead. Okay, when you have only 1 relic that gives you light gems, and you need to match more, then you want to focus on small matches so that you can leave some light gems on the board. And also, if you're below 5 gems, it's actually okay, because the way the Crusader events go, whenever you have less than the number of total commanders on the board, it will create more of that for you. So you're always going to be guaranteed at least 5 5 gems on the board. Now you can see I've already created 5 power gems plus another one for my relic. And now let's go ahead and create additional 15 relics from the Orsangs, 3 each. And then if we just do a quick power gem match here, let's see how much damage it can deal. So we are looking at I think that was about 6 billion right there. And so let's go ahead and do another match here. We should have no problems taking out this boss, and then do a heart gem match to get a little bit of health. And now again, we are at we've reset and we've got our 6 gems plus a relic and an additional one for the next turn, and then add another 15. So we're talking about 21 power gems right now. And then let's just go ahead and do a match. And we can take on the boss pretty easily. So with this particular deck, let's take a look now to see what the overkill is. And so we're looking at 10 plus billion with this particular setup. And this is just with nothing but the support card. I'm not using Wella, I'm not using an ultra rare, I'm not using any of the other cards. So this is really a powerful deck if you have at least 3 or 4 of them running around. Having all 5, you're going to definitely have no problems with many of the bosses here. In fact, you can use that to take on a level 300 Ascended, because it's at 21 billion. So I think with that, you could probably do deal at least half the damage, if not more, so that it would take you 6 keys to take out a level 300 Ascended boss. All right, so I think that's pretty good. And now let's take a look at how a event deck would now work. So what I said is I wanted to do a review of the event deck, and this is the full one I'm running. So I'm using 2 Orsangs, I'm using the ultra rare and the master collection card, as well as I'm actually using three Orsangs. This is the best ideal setup. I'm still curious whether that would be better if you have multiple copies of the ultra rare card. I don't know if it's going to be better to run 2 ultra rares plus 2 Orsang, or having 3 Orsangs and this setup is going to be better, but definitely replacing Wella with another Orsang was the better choice here. And so for this particular deck, you can see none of the cards have a dependency to intensity, right? So I'm building up intensity, but I'm not using any of it. Wella is the only card that uses intensity, and I don't need it. And so this is the type of deck that will give you consistent output in damage with consistent damage and output every 3 turns. And so while it may have less damage than the Halloween type deck, because with this particular type of deck, you're talking about using Gem Destroy and a combination of Gem Destroying and Gem Spawning. And so right now I'm not doing the optimal way, I'm just doing this after 1 turn, and you can see because of the Mimic how many total relics I have. I do fill up the entire board, but it's not all power gem 3s or 4s. And so it's mostly 1s with some 3s and 4s in there. And if I were to do a match right now, let's see how much damage this actually deals. So it depends also on the drop here. So we're at 70. I actually might be able to defeat the boss with this gem drop. So with this particular setup on turn 1, I'm able to deal over 21 billion damage. And so, imagine that you just kind of rinse and repeat for a bigger boss. But the problem comes down to health, right? So against a level 300 Ascended boss, I do run into health problems. And so the other option is to run in and use an Aladdin. And using Aladdin gives me another benefit of, additional relics, so that I can actually, fill up my team on the beginning. But that's not really the main focus here. The main focus is the fact that I could actually do heal. So in fact, I could also just replace this with another, this relic with another relic that boosts overall, maybe another saber in there. And again, I'm not using the intensity here. I'm just simply using the deck. Compare that to the Light Halloween. So this is a Light Halloween that has Aladdin. Now, the damage also gets capped here. So there is no card that boosts Fable damage. And what we're going to do is let's go ahead and do another attack using the Halloween deck and see how that plays out. So with Halloween type deck, it depends on intensity, and also you have a reliance on fast matches to make sure that you get to the next turn. It's a 7-turn cooldown compared to 3, so there's a lot more time in between that you have to really manage your gem swaps to make sure that you get enough time to get at least 2 or 3 attacks in. So let's see how much damage you can deal with this particular team now. And so, and also with a Halloween type deck, you really don't want to do anything on turn 1. Right, you don't want to do anything on turn 1 or turn 2. In fact, what you want to do is you want to wait until you're at least 150 intensity, which is coming from the combination of Lysias and also your relics. This is why relics are important in this particular build, because you need to be able to generate intensity. Now, having Aladdin running Aladdin means that you don't really have to worry about what kind of gems you're matching. And now let's go ahead and do a match now. So this is one where you can have about a full board full of gems, but this one is actually less than what I had earlier, because that one is mostly ones. And now it's really when you get to 350 intensity, that's when every single card that generates power gems will help you fill up the board. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to do exactly just that. We're going to move our intensity meter up to 350 so that my Chronos as well as my Apollo will each fill up the board with power gem once, and then we'll see how much damage we deal at that point. Plus Aladdin will give me additional power gem upgrade, because it'll create an additional power gem 3. So now I think I shouldn't have matched that, because that just took out an additional power gem I could have created. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do power gem creation, and now you can see I have all power gem 3s, and some of them are upgraded to 4s. So now we can see how much total damage this will deal in this one hit. Now keep in mind that this does have a slightly less bonus than my current event deck. So we're looking at about 15 billion damage with that one attack, and that's capped, right? So we're looking at 15 billion damage every 7 turns. And I think that if you were to take the 20 billion that I damaged from the earlier deck and reduce it by about half, you're looking at about 10 to 12 billion. So yes, it does, it will actually perform a little bit worse, I think, in terms of total damage output, but you can see how quick the deck is. You can see that without relying on the intensity, without waiting for the number of turns, it really is just whenever the power, whenever you can, just go ahead and activate. Now with the Halloween type deck, it's once you hit 350 intensity, then you're in the clear. You just want to get to the next battle skill, and then you just want to keep rinsing and repeating. So it's just that, in terms of the speed, this type of deck in the current event deck will be faster off the top. At the start, it'll be faster. And then with Halloween, once you get to 350, you're going to be consistent. The only thing that it loses out on is it takes 7 turns, so it's really hard to get multiple hits in. Whereas when I go up against a guild boss, 108 billion, I can actually use my current event deck, and I could have many hits to actually take down the boss with just 3 keys. Whereas with Halloween type deck, 4 times is about the average of what I can really do if I'm really fast, and 5 if I'm pushing it. And so there's always a it's a little less predictable as to whether I will get it or not. But overall, I like this deck better for myself. I think that I like the fact it's faster, and I don't have to rely on intensity, and I don't need that many relics. I mean, having at least one is always good, but I can now afford to wait until the next ones come out, and then just kind of keep building up my deck. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's episode. I'm glad to see a little bit of change in the deck makeup, and it's not always about the intensity. I think it's a good supplement to the deck, and having a combination that allows you to draw from the best of both worlds, I think is really something I'm looking forward to. So that's all for that I wanted to showcase today. It is going to be the last day of the event, so hopefully if you get a chance to see this, you still have some time to play around with the teams. And if you have any ideas, please let me know. Always looking forward to seeing some ideas, and I will be reviewing it, and I'll be learning from you as well. So thanks for your time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.